Hey hard healers, William here again. I just wanted to take a moment to record this video to wish everyone a happy new year. I hope it was a time of safety and celebration and joy, and that moving forward into 2021 we can put 2020 behind, and that we have learned whatever lessons we need to in order to make this year a year of success and healing and growth. I also wanted to take a moment to thank everyone that again has reached out to me following the last video I posted just before New Year's Eve. Again, I always really do appreciate the support, and I'll probably always say this at the start of every video because I really truly do sincerely mean it. Thank you so much if you're one of those people, and I hope that the words that I spoke about during that video were able to serve you on your journey, and that the same again will apply today during this video. What I wanted to touch upon today was a topic that many of us will be familiar with, and I'm sure many of us have experienced at some point in our lives, probably in varying severities. I wanted to talk about depression and the effect that depression has on you and whoever may be in your life. Depression is an often overused and watered down term. People will use the word depression to describe how they may be feeling about a particular situation. You might have heard one of your friends or someone else you may know that may use phrases such as, "I'm so depressed that the tickets for the concert I wanted to see are sold out," or "I'm so depressed that I didn't get the pair of shoes that were on sale in the shops," or "I'm so depressed that the radio station didn't play my favourite tune when I text them in." And while there are no bad intentions behind using this word or this term in a conversational manner, it really detracts from the true nature of what this word and illness actually means to people and the effect that it has on people's lives. Depression comes in many forms. It can vary in severity, and it often does, between one person to the next. Depression for one person could mean having suicidal thoughts and self-harming or anything destructive like this, or for another person it may simply just mean that they've had a hard week at work and they're finding it really hard to get out of bed in the morning, or maybe not even as extreme as that. Maybe they just feel a little bit down and they don't really know why, so maybe they just blame the weather. And because it varies in severity, it's often hard to recognize in people when they may be feeling depressed, and it can often, even more so for the depressee, the person who is feeling depressed, it can be equally as hard for them to recognize that they are in this state of depression. For myself personally, the reason I wanted to sit down to record this video today is because I have been in a mild to moderate depression for the past probably 7 to 8 days. And I felt it was important to sit down to record this today while I'm still feeling, for the most part, these same emotions and the same feeling of darkness in my mind, so I could give an accurate reflection to anyone who may be watching this, so that they can hopefully have a better understanding of what it looks like and what it also feels like whenever this is happening. One of the main problems with depression is that because it's not a physical illness, because it's not the same as breaking your arm or cutting your face or anything like this, it's often very hard to recognize and to see this in other people. And I wanted to record this today, and while I'm very much on the back end, the tail end, I'm very much almost back on my feet and out of the darkness that has been clouding my mind for the past 8 days. I wanted people to be able to see that my face and my appearance have not changed since my last video. Maybe my hair's got a little bit longer, it's been about a week, but aside from that, there's nothing to suggest that I may be feeling that deep emptiness and void, and I may have dark clouds in my mind right now. There are many different reasons or causes why a person can slip into a state of depression. A quick search in Google will probably throw 100 or 200 different reasons why someone would end up in this state. And of course, depression is very subjective. What may cause someone like myself to go into a depressive state may not for another, so it's entirely dependent on the individual. And I wanted to share the reasons why, from my own personal experience in the past 8 days and leading up to the depression that I've been in for the past 8 days, the reasons that have caused me to slip into this, and hopefully through the sharing of my experience with this, it will hopefully give someone else, or maybe yourself, the tools to understand why they may be feeling the same thing if they're currently in the same place. Throughout the work I've done with my psychologist since I began seeing her approximately 2 years ago, I have learned that there are 3 main things that keep me in a stable and balanced place psychologically. That is sleep, first and foremost, exercise, and the food that I eat. Those three things are the pillars that keep my psychological and mental health well-being in a stable place. Now, it's taken a long time personally for me to get to the point where I'm at right now, where I have a level of self-understanding and mindfulness that when these feelings of depression or when something in my external environment changes, then I am able most of the time to pinpoint the reasons why. And throughout this journey of my own healing and my own mental health recovery and my own self-discovery, I've often found, and this has been prevalent throughout my life, but very much less so now, but it still happens from time to time, that when one of these three pillars is taken away, then it tends to have a knock-on effect for the other two, and then my mental health and my psychological state begin to deteriorate, and I begin to suffer as a result. About 4 months ago, at the beginning of August 2020, I adopted a plant-based diet. I'm specifically not using the term vegan here because I don't associate as a vegan and I don't identify as one, and there are too many connotations that go with it, so it's easier for me to just say plant-based. So I don't eat meat, and I don't eat eggs, and I don't eat dairy, and I don't eat gluten, but I'm not a vegan. And if you're watching this and you yourself are a vegan and maybe you're a meat eater or whatever else, that's all cool with me. I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm not here to convince anyone else to adopt a plant-based diet. I'm not here to push my beliefs on anyone. I have no problems with vegans. I have no problem with meat eaters. I'm purely just using the experiences that I've went through over the past 4 months to highlight the effect that this has had on my body and my mental health. So, one of the issues that people who adopt a plant-based diet run into is that they often develop a lack of iron or an iron deficiency in their blood. This is something that I was largely unaware of up until about 10 days ago. And having a lack of iron in your blood causes a multitude of health problems, but for me personally, what I have tended to find from myself as a result of this is that I have a severely reduced level of energy. I wake up fatigued and malaised, and I can't exercise. I've also developed frequent and recurring injuries, primarily because my blood does not have enough red blood cells currently and cannot provide enough nutrients and oxygen to my muscles when I exercise in order to repair and heal. And as a result of these recurring injuries and the slow time to heal and the lack of energy and the fatigue, it has enabled me unable to exercise. And as I said earlier, exercise, sleep, and the food I eat are the three most important things for my own personal mental health. I'm sure for most it's probably the same, but speaking personally, these are the three most important things for me. I will just point out that this has been a slow and gradual build-up that has led to the deficiency that I'm currently experiencing. It wasn't just something that happened immediately when I made the decision to change the way I was eating. It's something that has taken a considerable amount of time, so approximately 4 months in order for it to happen. Prior to developing this deficiency and the fatigue and lack of energy that I have been experiencing recently, I would have been exercising almost every day. I adopted a yoga practice which I would practice every morning when I woke up. I would do a minimum of 20 to 30 minutes of sometimes led and sometimes my own yoga flow sequences every morning. And by starting my day that way and ending in a meditation, it set me up for the rest of the day and kept me in a place of balance and mindfulness. And I really just want to emphasize that this is something that I did every single day, probably since the beginning of March. It's something that is incredibly important and valuable to me outside of going for a walk or running or doing weighted resistance training. The yoga in itself has been the crucially most important thing that has enabled me to stay grounded and balanced and keep me on the straight and narrow on the path I'm currently on. The problem that I have faced as a result of this pillar being removed from my normal mental health security and my normal routine is that it has had a knock-on effect, as I mentioned earlier, on all the other aspects of my mental health well-being and my well-being in general. If you go to any doctor or psychologist, 9 out of 10 times, if you tell them that you're suffering from the symptoms of depression or that you're feeling depressed, they're generally going to tell you to exercise if you're not doing so, to get more sleep if you're not sleeping, and to eat better food. And speaking from experience, I can testify to the effect that not adhering to these three pillars of your mental health well-being can have on you as a person. As a result of having the ability to do my daily yoga practice and any form of physical exercise removed, it has led my mind to becoming more critical and ruminating on the reasons behind me not being able to exercise. I've written in some of my articles before that I have a highly critical mind and a perfectionistic outlook on life, that the voice in my head tells me that I need to do everything perfect and that if anything goes wrong it's my fault. So as a result of me changing my diet and being stupid and not understanding that this would lead to an iron deficiency, my mind has berated me and blamed me as the sole cause for now not being able to exercise. And as a result of this, it has started to drag me down slowly but surely over the past couple of weeks, to the point that I have now been in for the past 8 days. Now, I know myself quite well, I like to think, and I'm generally aware of the external things that I will now begin to reach for whenever I regress into this state of being. I tend to be aware of the behaviour patterns and thought and thinking patterns that will arise as a result of regressing into this state. And despite being aware of these behaviour patterns and thinking patterns, and despite having done all of the work I've done on myself over the past 2.5 years since I began this journey of self-examination and healing and recovery, I am oftentimes still powerless to be able to resist the voice in my mind and to break free of the patterns of behaviour that shackle themselves around me. As I mentioned earlier, the exercise, the sleep and the food are the 3 most important things for me personally to keep myself psychologically healthy and balanced. And because the exercise component of those 3 pillars has been removed, it has also affected my sleep. I haven't been getting as much sleep as I normally would. My sleeping pattern has been changing and it's not the same every day, and the foods that I've been eating are also not as nutritious as they normally would be. As I mentioned before, I've adopted a plant-based diet, so I eat a lot of fruit and I eat a lot of vegetables, and my body is generally used to getting a lot of nutrients on a daily basis. And as a result of the other 2 being affected now, that has also been taken away. And because this has been taken away, my mind automatically resorts to having to blame someone, and it blames me. And the monologue that runs throughout my mind in a time like this, especially whenever my mind is blaming me, is highly critical and highly negative, and it pulls me into a really dark and low place. It's a place that I have worked considerably hard on over the past 2.5 years to not stay in for longer than is necessary, and to try to step back from the critical voice in my mind whenever it starts to speak to me like this, and recognize that it's only my mind. This does not reflect on who I am or what I am or what I've done. It is just the way my mind has been programmed to perceive and see the world, and that I can change that and I don't have to get sucked into it. Now, with that being said, oftentimes I am able to detach myself from the voice in my mind and to not get sucked in and pulled down into a dark, low place whenever it starts to speak to me in this negative manner. And for many of you watching this, if you've ever experienced this, then you will understand the difficulty that it can pose whenever your mind does start to go off on a tangent like this, and how challenging it can be for you to keep yourself out of the place that it pulls you into. And it can be even more challenging to try and explain this to someone who hasn't experienced it, or who maybe doesn't know what it's like whenever this is going on. For the past 8 days, my mind has been telling me things like, you are a failure, you are not good enough, you are foolish, how did you not realize that this was going to happen, you're an idiot, you don't deserve any of this, you deserve to feel the way you're feeling because it's all your fault. And because of my inability to resist this inner monologue right now, it has led me to resorting to old behaviour patterns. And this is similar to what I spoke about in my video just before New Year's. I still know for myself personally that the drugs and alcohol will never ever be an option again for me. However, there are always other things that can be reached for in a time of discomfort when we want to feel better. And for me, the thing I reach for is food. And for me personally, this is a slippy slope to go down, because when I start to feel like this and I reach for fatty, sugary foods, or if I order Uber Eats or I eat lots of chocolate, that inner critic in my mind begins to critique me even more, because I value the way I eat and I value what I put into my body, and for the most part I tend to avoid any processed or fatty foods, highly fatty foods I should say. I tend to avoid any sweets or takeaway food because it doesn't sustain my body and give it the nutrients that it deserves to have. And because of this, my mind then berates me even more, and it tells me again that I'm not good enough and that I'm a failure and I'm making mistakes and I don't deserve any of this, and it brings me even further down the slope that I'm already starting to slip down. Now, I just want to put a semi-disclaimer out there that I'm not recording this video to ask for help or to seek sympathy. I'm purely and simply recording this so that people can see and hear accurately what it's like whenever someone is in a depressive state or is currently experiencing any of the things that I am talking about, because it's not often easily recognized. As I said at the beginning of the video, you wouldn't be able to recognize the way that my mind has been speaking to me over the past 8 days and the effect that that has been having on me. And I guess I just wanted people to see, particularly those who have never experienced this way of thinking or never experienced depression to this level, that you can understand what it is like when maybe someone you care about is in this frame of mind, and you may then be able to offer them some support or assistance. And for those of you who are watching this, if you're still watching this, for those of you who understand what I'm talking about and who have experienced this, or maybe you're currently in a depressive state of mind, I just want you to know that you have the strength within you right now to overcome this, and the voice that is in your mind, the things that your mind is saying to you, do not reflect on who you are, and that you are better than that, and that you have the power within you to turn this around. One of the hardest things for me to do today was to get out of my bed, because I told myself last night that when I woke up this morning, I was going to get out of my bed and I was going to stretch and do some form of light yoga, do whatever my body could tolerate without getting hurt, but just do something so that I could at least make a start on beginning to recover. And when I woke up this morning, that voice in my mind kicked in immediately. There was no delay between me opening my eyes and regaining consciousness. It was an immediate, don't do that today, stay in your bed, you feel too tired, you're not good enough, you don't need to do this, just order a pizza, blah, 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 blah. But ultimately, it boils down to choices, because we as individuals, when we're in this frame of mind, we can make the choice to succumb to the voice in our mind and to stay rooted where it wants us to be rooted, to stay rooted in depression, to stay rooted in our bed, to stay exactly where we are. Or we can make the choice to change that today, to not accept that, to challenge what the inner monologue in our mind tells us, and to do something different, to do the things that we know, that we feel that we need to do in order to take control and power back into our own hands, to take the power away from the depression and to take it away from the things that our mind is telling us. If you're still here watching and you are one of the people who may be experiencing this currently, or maybe you're not experiencing it right now, but maybe you have experienced depression in the past, maybe you understand what I'm talking about here, maybe you can relate to what I've been saying. And if you're one of these people and you're in this frame of mind right now, I just want you to take a second and ask yourself, what can I do right now to look after my body and my well-being and my mind? Can I get off the sofa? Can I drink a glass of water? Can I eat a banana? Can I eat an apple? Can I go for a walk? Can I do 10 squats? Can I do a push-up? Can I do anything at all? Can I move my body? Can I do anything other than doing what my mind is telling me to do right now? Is there anything that I can do to change the way I'm feeling? There's always something that we can do to combat the depression when it kicks in, and the power is in your hands to be able to combat what you're feeling right now. And never forget and always remember that no matter how challenging, no matter how difficult, no matter how impossible it feels and seems to you to break yourself out of this frame of mind, that you have the power to do this, that you have done it before and that you will do it again, and that what you're experiencing is temporary, and that you are better than this, and that your life is not going to continue in this way. You know that you have the power within you to get up off the sofa, to stand on your feet, to do what needs to be done. That power is within you and it never goes away, and never forget that you have that. So anyway guys, I'm going to leave it there. If you're still here watching, I really, again, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch and listen, and I hope that what I've spoken about today, and by the sharing of my experience over the past 4 months and particularly the past 8 days, it has been able to serve you and hopefully give you some different perspectives or new knowledge that you can maybe assimilate into your life right now. And one final thing I wanted to just add at the end: if you are still here watching, it would really mean a lot if you could put a like on the video, or give us a like on Facebook, or follow the page on Instagram, or share the video. It really just helps a lot when you're starting these pages out to get as many people connected as possible. The way Facebook and Instagram works with their algorithms is that the more activity and the more shares, etc., the more people can see it and the more that they'll share this content with others. And if anything that I've spoken about in these videos has been of service to you, or you've learned things from them, then it would really mean a lot if you could take the time to maybe give a like or follow or share. And of course, if you don't, that's completely okay. I hope the words have served you either way, but it would really help to share this message. So anyway, have a lovely weekend, guys. Have a great 2021, and I will speak to you all soon. Goodbye.